Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Gurave Sarvalokanam Visheshvaroginam Nidhe Sarvavidyanam Dakshinamurtaye Namah. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Guru Me Deva Sarvakaryesu Sarvada Gajananam Bhutaganasevidam Gabitayam Bhuvalasarabhakshidam Umasudam Jokabhinachagaranam Namami Vigneshwarapadapankajam Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shachivardam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarvavighnopashanthe Vyasam Ashtanaptaram Shakte Bhautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukadatam Taponidhim Vyasaya Vishnurupaya Vyasarupaya Vishname Namo Vai Brahmanideye Vasishtaya Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narotram Devim Saraswatim Devato Jaimadirayet. Last time we looked at what happened when Pandavas were staying in the Brahmana's house. What happened, right? There, Bhima went and killed Baka, and then they were staying there, and then there was a Brahmana who visits, and he narrates about the events that happened that's taking place in Panchala, the Swayamvara that's taking for Draupadi, and he explains how Drishtadryumna and Draupadi were born. Drupada was looking for revenge, looking to take revenge against Drona, who humiliated him by defeating him, and he considered them as friends. And then Drupada wanted to take revenge against that Brahmana, so he goes to Yaja and Upayaja, and then he goes to Yaja and Upayaja, and then asks Yaja to perform the sacrifice. Yaja performs the sacrifice. From that sacrifice, Drishtadhyumna was born with swords and all the weapons in his hand, and then Draupadi, who is very beautiful, born. And this Swayamvara, that is self-choice, was arranged for Draupadi. And he explains about how they were born. And with that, hearing that, Pandavas became a bit sad because Drona is their guru, and they realized that there is someone who has taken birth through a sacrifice to defeat Drona. They will become sad. But at that time, Kunti and everybody thinks they should go to Panchala and see what's happening. And everyone agrees, Pandavas agree with the Kunti that they should go there. And while they were living in that Brahmana's house, still in Ekachakra Nagar, Vyasa comes there. If you remember, after killing Hidimba, Vyasa asks them to go to Ekachakra Nagara, and Vyasa tells them that you stay there till I come. Right, and now Vyasa comes again to Ekachakra Nagara, and then he says that when he comes, like when any senior people come or Brahmanas come, Pandavas worship him. They wash his hand, wash his feet, and then give him food and everything else. They do all type of service. And after that, when Vyasa takes his seat, he tells them that story of a Rishi's daughter. Okay, so he tells that there was a Rishi and he had a daughter, and that daughter was not married. Okay, and she did a penance, and through that penance, Mahadeva, Shankara, Shiva was worshipped, and Shiva was pleased, and Shiva comes in front of her and then asks, what do you want? And she says, I need a husband. Okay, I want a husband who is of good quality, strong and good looking and all these things. Okay, and she says, I need a husband, I need a husband, I need a husband. Okay, and Shiva says, yes, you will have 5 husbands. And she says, no, I asked for only 1 husband. But then Shiva says, no, you asked it 5 times. You said, I need a husband, I need a husband, I need a husband. You have 5 husbands. And Vyasa informs that That Rishi's daughter has taken birth now as Draupadi, as Drupada's daughter. So he tells them, Pandavas, that you go to Panchala and witness that Swayamvara. You go there and you will benefit from it. He doesn't say that you will marry or what happens. He says that you will benefit from it. You go there and witness that Swayamvara. And with that, Pandavas start their journey towards Panchala kingdom. Okay, southern Panchala, which was ruled by Drupada. So Pandavas worshipped and said goodbye to the host Brahmana, at whose house they were staying. They go there, they walking day and night, they walked and they came near a Shiva temple on bank of river Ganga. Okay, Arjuna was leading their way and Arjuna was holding a torch and he was leading the way and everybody was following them. There, Arjuna goes near, because it was river Ganga, and in that place, there was a Gandharva. Okay, and that Gandharva with his wives, he was having good time, having his holiday, and he spent good time there. And on hearing Pandavas approaching that place, Gandharva, his name was Angaraparna. That Angaraparna Gandharva, he says that don't come here because humans are not allowed to go near rivers, lakes and things during night time. Nighttime walking and wandering is not allowed for human. Nighttime is only allowed for yakshas, Gandharvas, Rakshasas and others. You are a human, you should stay at home, should not walk like this. And you should not take Ganga river water at this time because this now does not belong to humans. And Arjuna objects to this. He says that, no, you are wrong. River Ganga is the mother of everybody and anybody can go to river Ganga anytime they want. Who are you to stop me? I'm going to go to river Ganga. I'm going to continue my journey. And Gandharva says, I'm going to stop you. And they start fighting. And when they start fighting, Arjuna thinks that this is a superior person. So he uses the celestial weapon. Okay, divine weapons he acquired through Drona. He releases that Agneya weapon, which, if you remember, Drona acquired through his guru called Agnivesha, Rishi Agnivesha. Agnivesha was born from Agni himself, fire god. And through Agnivesha, Drona has acquired that Agneya weapon. And from Drona, Arjuna had it. And Arjuna releases that weapon on the Gandharva and the Gandharva faints. He got defeated and he faints. And he got defeated. At that time, his wife, Kumbinashi, she comes to Arjuna and begs for her husband's life. She says that grant life to my husband, please, because I don't want to live as a widow. Please grant life. And Arjuna says, okay, I'm not going to kill him. Let him go. I will let him go. With that, the Gandharva becomes very happy. He says that because you granted me life, you did not kill me. When someone asks for life, you did not kill me. You followed what is right. I am going to teach you something which is very secret. He says that I'm going to teach you an illusion, okay, a science, a knowledge called Chakshushi. The Chakshushi knowledge means they can disappear, they can hide, okay. So that science was communicated initially by Manu. Manu is the Brahma's son, okay, and he is the creator of all the humans, Manavas. That's why humans are called Manavas, okay. From Manu, everybody came. From Manu, Soma is Chandra. Chandra learned it. From Soma, Vishwavasu learned it, and from Vishwavasu, Angaparna, this Gandharva has learned it. What he says is, whenever one wishes, okay, so they can change to whatever the form they want and they can disappear with this science, okay. So through this, producing this illusion, they can do it. So he says that I acquired this after doing a lot of penance and standing on one leg for 6 months. And then only after that, I acquired this from Vishwavasu. So I am giving this science to you, okay. And Gandharva also says that I am giving you 100 horses, which are all of them are born in Gandharva kingdom. all of them are like celestial colors and speed. Even if they look weak, thin, they will never get tired. They will keep on going as long as you want. I will give you such 100 horses. Okay. And he says that those horses will be very good. Okay. And then once that he says that those horses, in exchange, Arjuna says, I granted you life. Yes, I gave you life, but because I gave you something, I cannot take something from you. Even if you wish to give me all these things, the Chakshushi method of creating illusions or the horses, whatever he is offering, I can't take all this because I gave you something. If I take something, whatever I gave will not have merit. So at that time, Gandharva says, in that case, let's do an exchange. The weapon you have, Agnivesha weapon, I will have that. Agneya weapon, I will have that in exchange for all these signs and horses and everything. And Arjuna, to that, Arjuna says, why did he stop? Okay, why did he stop first? Before we go there, explain me why did he stop at night time? And Gandharva explains that he knew that these are Pandavas and he heard a lot of great things about them. And he wanted to see who Arjuna is, how strong he is. That's why he stopped him. And he says that because Arjuna was following Brahmacharya mode, Brahmacharya method, he defeated Gandharva. Otherwise, nobody could have defeated me, because you are following Gandharva Brahmacharya vow. That's why you managed to defeat me. And he says that, so Pandava says that themselves at that time they were not married, okay, nor they did have a priest. Okay, they were princes, but they did not have a priest on their own. Gandharva says that, O Tapatya, you should have a priest. You should have a priest because every king should have a priest who is learnt in Vedas and its branches and everything, who is virtuous, truthful, who is possessed of self-command. That means he is not going to be swayed by somebody saying something. He is going to make decisions. He is following whatever that the Vedas, Shastras say. Based on that, a priest should guide. Find such a priest, because king, if he has something, he has to protect it. And if he does not have something and he want to acquire this, he should acquire this. And all that should happen based on a guidance from a priest. Without priest, king cannot do anything in this world, and they cannot achieve anything in the next world when they go to heaven. They won't achieve heaven as well if without a good priest. He says that if somebody, a king, wants, wishes his own prosperity, he should have a priest, and all that should come through the guidance of a good priest. And he says that you should acquire a Brahmana who knows all these things, who is of good conduct and character and controls, and you should have him as your priest. And that Gandharva advises like that. Arjuna listens to all these things, and instead of asking who should be my priest, he says, hang on a minute, you said, oh Tapatya. Why did you call me Tapatya? Okay. And then at that time, Gandharva starts explaining another story. So Vivaswat is Surya, okay, had a name. This is Gandharva explaining a story to Arjuna. Okay. So Vivaswat Surya had a daughter named Tapati. And Tapati, she was very beautiful, but she was devoted to penances. And there was no woman like her in Devas, Rakshasas, Asuras, Yaksha, Rakshasa, anywhere like her, or even Gandharvas or anywhere beautiful as her. And she was perfectly symmetrical, faultless features, everything, large eyes, black eyes, beautiful dress. She was chaste, good conduct. She was very good looking. So she had character as well as looks. Okay. Looking at her, Savitri, that is again Surya. I'm using different names here for Surya. Okay. First one I said Vivaswat. Now Savitri. Savitri, her father was thinking, where do I find a matching husband for her? Okay, as she started growing, he started worrying. Okay, it started worrying him because she's such a good character and good looking. You have to find a matching person, right? So her husband, the father, Surya, started thinking, where do I find this? At that time, there was a king on earth called Samvarna. Okay, he was son of Riksha, and he was constantly worshipping Surya. Okay, all the time he was worshipping Surya, and looking at him, Surya thought, Tapana. Tapana is again Surya's another name. Tapana thought that I should give my daughter Tapati to Samvarna. And Surya thought about that, but he can't go on his own because you should never give away three types of gifts on your own. Okay. So one is Vidya, knowledge. Okay. Second one is girl. Okay. You should never give your daughter to somebody who does not ask. And third one is food. Okay. So Annadana, Vidya Dana, Kanya Dana, three types of dana one should never do. Only if someone asks, that means they need it. Okay, if someone is asking, that means they need it, then only you should give them. So for example, Vidya, if somebody is asked saying that, can you please teach me, then only you should teach them, not just go and teach somebody that, come, I will teach you all these things. Okay. Similarly, Kanyadana. So Kanyadana is giving your daughter. Okay, so if somebody is interested, they will come and ask you. You should not go and say, do you want to marry my daughter? Similarly, food as well. Annadana is when someone asks for food and you give them, that's called Annadana. Okay, feeding a lot of people, inviting a lot of people and then feeding is not Annadana. That is still good thing. Okay, but it is not Annadana. Annadana is when someone actually comes asking for food and you give them. So coming back to the story here. So Tapana thinks, Surya thinks that he is the fit person for his daughter, but he was waiting for things to happen. So like one day, King Samvarna, he was on a hunting trip in the forest. He goes deep into the forest and his horse got tired and it died. King was on his own without horse. He was walking on the foot. While he was walking, he comes across a beautiful girl there. And he sees her and immediately he falls in love with her. He wanted to speak to her, but the girl immediately disappears. King was so disappointed. He was in shock. He was looking for her everywhere. He could not find. He searched entire forest, could not find. And then he was so tired, he fell on the earth. When he was in sorrow, grief, thinking about that girl, he hears a voice of a girl. And that girl is the same girl he saw a few minutes ago, some time ago. And that girl comes there and then she introduces, he asks her, who are you? Where are you from? And please tell me all your details. And then at that time, the girl says that she is the daughter of Aditya. Aditya is Surya. Okay. But she says that I am happy to marry you, but I can't simply marry you. You have to come and ask my father first. If he agrees, then only I will marry you. Okay. I can't take decision on my own because again, she is of a good conduct. Okay. This is again shows her conduct. She did not marry on her own. So with that, she goes to skies and she goes back to her home. And Samvarna, his ministers came searching for him. They found the king on the ground. He was very tired. They sprinkled water on him and he regained conscious. And then king sends his attendants away. Okay. He sends them away and he says that I am going to stay here. He purifies himself and then facing upwards, he starts praying towards Surya. Okay. And he also remembers his priest, Vasishta. And he continues to observe his vows day and night and continues to worship Surya. On the 12th day like that, Vasishta comes there because Vasishta realized that king was remembering him, and Vasishta comes there, and Vasishta asks what happened, and king explains that I met this girl, I want to marry her. And the king, hearing that, Vasishta says, okay, I will go and speak to Surya. Vasishta goes to Vibhavasu. Vibhavasu is Surya. Okay, goes there and says, I'm coming here on behalf of King Samvarna. I'm asking your daughter Tapati for my king. And Vibhakara agrees to this. Vibhakara is Surya again. He agrees to him and he gives away his daughter. Okay, and Vasishta brings Tapati to the king and they marry. They spend a lot of time, about 12 years, in the same forest, married life, happily there. While the king was away, there was no rain in his kingdom. People were suffering, okay, and they were struggling for food and everything else. And Vasishta goes back to the king and says, because you are away, there is no sacrifices or anything done in the kingdom. I know you are enjoying your married life, but come back to the kingdom, city, and do your duty as a king. And king agrees. He comes back to his kingdom, and with that, it started raining again. After that, with Vasishta's help, king performs a lot of sacrifices and continues to live a good life. And they had a son named Kuru. Okay, Kuru, from him, the dynasty started. That's why it is called Kauravas, Kuru dynasty. Okay, and from that dynasty, Gandharva says that you were born, your ancestors were born, and you are came through that dynasty. That's why I called you, because you are come through Tapati's, you are Tapati's descendants. I called you Tapatya. Okay, so Arjuna asked one question, and this is all the story that the Gandharva narrated. Okay, and at that time, Gandharva again says, like Vasishta, you also need to have a good priest who looks after what is good for you and for your kingdom, for your people. And he's hearing that. Arjuna asks, can you explain more about Vasishta? You mentioned Vasishta. Explain more about Vasishta. Okay. So here Gandharva again continues. He says that Vasishta is Brahma's spiritual son. Spiritual son is mind-born. That means Brahma just thought about it and he had a son. Okay. Vasishta is born like that. And he is Arundhati's husband. Arundhati, again, you will hear lots and lots about Arundhati in Mahabharata. She is one of the chaste women looking after her husband, devoted to her husband. Whenever there is a chaste woman names, Arundhati is mentioned as the first. Okay. And he was, again, he conquered everything, all the desires, anger, everything he conquered through his penances. And he, even when Vishwamitra did all the wrong to him, Vasishta never got angry. Okay. Vishwamitra did a lot of wrong things to Vasishta, but he never got angry. And even when he lost all his sons and was powerless, he did not use his penance, power of his penance to destroy Vishwamitra. He never, through his penance, power of his penance, he never tried to overcome loss of death. Okay, if somebody has to die, he did not use his powers, okay, to die. So he did everything as supposed to be done by a virtuous person, by a great Brahmarshi, and he was the priest of Ikshvaku dynasty. Ikshvaku is dynasty, Sri Ramachandra, Dasharatha, all those things, all those people were born in that. Vasishta in Ramayana, you hear a lot about Vasishta. Vasishta is Rama, Dasharatha's priest. Okay, so he says that this Gandharva says that Vasishta performed through Ikshvaku dynasty lot of sacrifices, many grand sacrifices through them, and therefore you also look for some accomplished Brahmana who is conversant with Vedas and has high virtue and appoint him as a good your priest, because Kshatriya of any good lineage, good birth, should have conquer the earth, and he should, before doing anything like that, he should appoint a priest. So now this is the third time Gandharva is saying appoint a priest. First time when he said, Arjuna asked, who is Tapatya? Second time he said, appoint somebody like Vasishta. Arjuna asked, who is Vasishta? Explain more about Vasishta. And then third time, Gandharva again says, appoint somebody as good as Vasishta. Like you should have somebody, a good Brahmana. Arjuna now asks, you mentioned there is something Vishwamitra did to Vasishta. Can you tell more about that? Okay. So now Gandharva again continues his explanation, the fight between or Vishwamitra, what Vishwamitra did to Vasishta. Okay. And again, in Mahabharata, Vishwamitra's story comes about in 5-6 different places. Every time you hear a part of Vishwamitra's story, you don't hear everything end to end Vishwamitra. Okay. So you already heard about Vishwamitra once. Anyone remembers? Yeah. Unmute, please.
So Vishwamitra was doing penance, and he didn't like Vasishta because he was a very powerful rishi. So he then started doing penance and kept asking for Vasishta's race to die out. So when he was doing penance, all of Vasishta's sons and family died out.
Yeah. So Vishwamitra, I'll come to that story in a second. So Vishwamitra, we heard about, if you remember, Dushyanta, Shakuntala. Shakuntala was born of Dushyanta. Shakuntala was born of Vishwamitra and Menaka. At that time, it looked at Vishwamitra a little bit. So here again, the Gandharva continues the story, explaining what happened between Vishwamitra and Vasishta. So there was in Kanyakubja, the place called Kanyakubja, there was a king called Gadi. Okay. Gadi had a son called Kushika. He was the son of Kushika. His father was Kushika. So that's why Vishwamitra is also sometimes called Kaushika. Okay. So that means he's come from Kushika's birth, Kushika's race. Okay. So he's called, Kushika's son is Gadi, and Gadi had a son called Vishwamitra. Okay. He was very strong, and the reason why he was born like that and all those things we will hear a little bit later in Mahabharata. And he had a large army. Vishwamitra had a large army, vehicles, animals, that is horses, elephants, everything. And once he was on a hunting trip and he was in deep forest, and he became very thirsty, and he comes across Vasishta's asylum. Okay. He comes to Vasishta's place. There, Vasishta offers him water, fruits, honey, ghee, all these things to eat and drink. And Vasishta had a cow called Nandini. You remember Nandini, Vasishta? Previously, when the Vasus abducted Nandini and Vasishta cursed them to be taken birth on earth, and one of those Vasus was Bhishma, right? And the other 7 were put on the dropped in the river Ganga by Ganga herself, right? So this Nandini used to yield everything, whatever Vasishta wished, okay? And she used to yield fruits, food, flowers, milk, whatever Vasishta needed for his sacrifices and for his pleasing the guest and all those things. So Vasishta again never used it for his own benefit. He used it for the guest. He used it for sacrifices and things. Okay, that's what she was there. And so Vishwamitra realizes that looking at this cow, he thinks that this cow has all the good features. And I told this about cow's features and things when I was talking about Vasu's abducting Nandini. Okay, so looks at that, and then he says that, tells Vasishta that I will give you 1,000 cows, give me this cow. And Vasishta says, no, I'm having this cow for not my for my own benefit, for all the sacrifices and everything. I'm having it. I'm not giving it. Vishwamitra says, I'll give you my kingdom for this. Okay. And Vasishta says, no, I'm not giving this cow, because I have this cow for deities, for devas, for guests, for pitrus, for my ancestors. Okay. And for the sacrifices. I'm not having it for my own self. So I'm not giving it. If you really want it, you can take her by force. I'm not giving you her. And Vishwamitra starts dragging Nandini. And Nandini begs. Okay, Nandini begs Vishwamitra, Vasishta, please save me. Please protect me. Use your penance and your powers. Stop me. And Vasishta says, I can't get angry at this person. Okay. So if you want to protect yourself, you can do it. Okay. You can do whatever you want to do. And Nandini thinks that Vasishta has agreed to resist. And Vasishta says that I want you to stay. I want you to stay. But if he takes you and if you want to go, you can go. I would love to have you here. Okay. And with that, Nandini realizes that Vasishta wants her to stay, and Nandini gets very angry. And from her body, she starts shaking her body, and from that body becomes like a burning charcoal. Okay. And charcoal starts spreading everywhere. Arrows, it starts going, that burning charcoal, into Vishwamitra's army. And from her body, tail, came Pallavas, and from her chest came Dravidas, Chakas, and everyone from the wombs, army of Yavanas. Yavanas are like Western people. And from her dung came Saravas. From her urine, army of Kanchis came. And all these things came. Poundras, Kiratas, Yavanas, Simhalas, Khazas, Chibukas, Pulindas, Chinas, Hunas, Keralas, all these, and Mlechas, all these tribes of people came from her. When she was angry from different parts of her, they came, and all of them attacked Vishwamitra's army, so that nobody got killed from Vishwamitra's army, but they all got scared and they were hurt from that. Vishwamitra's army, seeing all this suddenly coming from the cow, they got scared and they ran away. Vishwamitra also goes away, and he starts thinking. He does not go back to his kingdom. He starts thinking, I got defeated with such a huge army. I got defeated. So what do? Brahmana has his powers, and I, as a Kshatriya, do not have that power. So the only way for me to become strong is to become a Brahmana. So Vishwamitra gives up his kingdom. He says, I'm not going to be a king, and starts doing penance. And he does penance like that for thousands of years. And there are a lot of things happening in Vishwamitra's penance. We'll come across those stories at different times. So he does penance and he becomes a Brahmana. Okay. So again, a Kshatriya or Shudra or Vaishya becoming a Brahmana or a higher order, they have to go through rigorous things. Okay. When the discussions come or when some arguments come, people say Vishwamitra became a Brahmana. Anybody can become Brahmana. It's not like that. Okay. So in the same birth, it is possible someone to become Brahmana, or a Shudra to become Vaishya, or Vaishya to become Kshatriya, or Kshatriya to become Brahmana. It is possible. But they have to go through a lot of penance and everything else. It is not easy. Okay. So Vishwamitra becomes a Brahmana, and even though he became a Brahmana, he still wanted to take revenge against Vasishta, because he felt he was he did not get from Vasishta what he asked when he asked. Okay. So what happens after that with Vasishta and Vishwamitra, we will see next week. Okay. Questions, Pranil? Yes.
I put two hands up because I have two questions. The first question is that who is Kushika's dad?
There is the tree I will share next week. There is a tree. If you remember, I used to show ancestry tree who born from whom. I will show you next week.
And the next question was, so the next question was, how could Nandini produce anything that Vasishta wants?
Because she is a divine cow. She is the daughter of Surabhi. Surabhi is the mother of all the cows. And Nandini is daughter of Surabhi. And because she is divine cow, she could produce, give whatever one wishes.
I probably think Vishwamitra's great granddad, which is Kushika's father, that's probably Mahavishnu.
No. Any other questions? Okay. So I think I got a couple of minutes left. If no other questions, we keep hearing, I'll just start a new thing. Okay. So we keep hearing about yugas, right? Yugas and time cycle. Kali Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. Mahabharata took place in Dwapara Yuga, right? So currently we are in Kali Yuga. So just let me start today and probably will finish next week. So what are these four yugas? We call about four yugas, and these yugas go in a cyclic fashion. Okay, you have Krita Yuga, Treta after that, Dwapara, and then Kali, and then Krita Yuga starts. Okay, so Krita Yuga is the most religious one. Okay, where the religion is, everyone observes religion. There is nobody not following religion. Okay, and that time religion is 100%, and people used to live long duration in Krita Yuga, thousands and thousands of years. Okay, 10,000, 15,000, 50,000 years, and like that. In Treta Yuga, dharma is reduced by a little bit. Okay, it reduced, says, by a quarter. So dharma is said to be standing on 3 legs. Okay, so it reduces a little bit, and here Narayana assumes the form of red color. Okay, and men practice truth, and they do religious rites. And then in Dwapara Yuga, again dharma reduces by another quarter. That means it's standing on 2 legs now, and Narayana here wears yellow color. And in Dwapara Yuga, Vedas gets divided into four Vedas. Before that, everything is one, because people used to live longer. They used to have time to learn everything. Okay, in Dwapara Yuga, the age duration, life duration reduced, life expectancy reduced. So it divided into 4 parts, so people can learn one of the Vedas. And some people will retain the Vedas of 4 Vedas, some 3, some 2, some 1. Okay, and some do not even know anything. Okay, so they just born in that Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya order, but they don't know anything like that. And then comes the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the worst of all 4. And there are a lot of things about Kali Yuga. Here again, dharma lives on 1 leg. Okay, only 1 quarter left, and a lot of problems. Okay, we probably will go through this Kali Yuga probably more in detail next week, and also how long each of these yugas or duration and all those things. Let's look at that next week. Okay. Any questions on this? Come prepared next week.